Today I'm going to show you how to make this Oscar the Grouch. In order to make him, you will need about 80 green rubber bands. These are just the regular green. 70 of the gray rubber bands. If you don't have gray, you could always use maybe silver for the trash can portion. And 4 brown bands. You'll also need 2 white pony beads. If you do not have pony beads, then you can just make the eyes using the black and white bands that you loop onto your hook. But I'm going to make him using the pony beads. So if you want to go ahead and grab your supplies, then we'll go ahead and get started. The first thing that we are going to create, it's one of the only things we're actually going to create separately, is his arm. I did go ahead and make one of these, so I'll show you how to make one. Just pause the video to make the second one. You're going to take 2 green bands starting on the top of the loom, and we're going to come down 4 times. And we then want to cap off the bottom, creating 3 loops. 1, 2, 3. And then just go ahead and loop that up. And we'll just set that aside for later. So go ahead and pause the video, make his second arm, and then we'll go ahead and get started on the rest. Now that we have our 2 arms, let's go ahead and start creating his body. In order to do that, we're going to start at the top of the loom with 2 green bands, and I'll be using 2 bands unless I specify otherwise. But you want to come down to the left and 2 bands to the right. Coming down twice on the left with 2 bands. And then 2 more on the right. And then bringing it into the chin peg. We then want to take let's do 2 green bands coming down the center peg. Trying to work with a band-aid on your finger when you're left-handed is not a very easy thing to do. We're going to take 2 brown bands coming from the center second peg, bring that out to the left second peg, and then 2 more brown bands from the right second to the center second. And then 2 more green bands coming down the center, and 2 more bringing it into the chin peg. Now before we move on, we're going to create the face extensions, and we're going to create that on the loom. I found this is easier. You lose your bands less often if it has to go on a certain, sometimes they're upside down, but this works best a lot of times. So you're going to start on the 3rd peg from the top. We're going to come down 3 times with double bands. And repeat that on the other side as well. And we are going to cap off these 2 ends, creating 3 loops. So 1, 2, 3. Do that on the other side. 1, 2, 3. We're then going to go in and loop these up. I'm then going to use my finger on this peg to make sure this top doesn't come off. I'm going in through this capping band. I'm going to remove it like this, twist it around, and replace it by putting that capping band on the very top peg. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Just like that. And now we can move on with the remainder of the body. So coming down for the neck, we're using 3 green bands. And back to 2 bands coming off for the shoulder. And then I'm going to come down on the left side 3 times with double bands, 2 bands. Repeat that on the right. And then I'm coming down from the neck peg with 2 bands down the center. And then I'm going to switch to 3 green bands. And then 3 more green bands. Okay, then we're going to move on, switching to our gray. On these 2 pegs here, I'm going to take a single gray, and you just want to place that on the peg itself and leave it there. And then we are going to come down with 2 gray bands all the way to the bottom of the loom. And we're going to repeat that on the right side. And then we're going to be filling in the center. So from where our greens ended, we're switching to 3 gray bands. And 3 more. And 3 more. 3 again. And then the last 2 will be 2 gray bands. We are then going to take a single band and bring it from the bottom center to the bottom left. And we want to do that on the other side as well. Just like that. Now we're going to be doing our extension pieces on the loom as opposed to off the loom because we want our crossover bands to actually hold this in place. It will give it more of a square look as opposed to a rounded look, and since we want this to look more like a trash can, we don't want it to be too bubbly on the sides. So in order to do that, we're going to start here on this peg where the green ended and the gray started. 1, 2, 3, 4. The 6th peg up from the bottom, and what you're going to do is take 2 bands and just we're going to place them over top. And you're going to go straight down to the bottom. And repeat that on the other side as well. You know, I have to say lately it seems like I get a lot of defective bands in my Rainbow Loom bands. These two are just in there. That's 2 in one bag. I don't know if that happens to anyone else, but maybe I just order too many bands, or I get too many bands that I just run across it a lot. Okay, so all of that is in place. We then want to cap off these bottom 3 pegs, and we're going to create 3 loops. So 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, and another one in the middle. 1, 2, 3. Now we'll place our crossover bands. Actually, let's go ahead and do the eyes. So you're going to take a green band, pinch it, and feed that through your 2 white beads. I can't even pinch the rubber band with the Band-Aid on. And then this one will go from these, oops. Try that again. Okay, so it's the second peg down from the right to the left, and then you want to separate the eyes, go in between the 2 bands, and pull it down to the 3rd peg from the center. Only one side of the band will go over that peg right there. We can also go ahead and put on our arms, so we're going to place those on the 2 shoulder pegs. And now we can do our crossover bands. So starting at the top on the 3rd peg down, we're going to create a triangle across with a single band. Coming down to where the arms are, we're not going to put anything there, but we are going down to this peg here. We're going to create a single double triangle. Not a triangle, I'm sorry. Yeah, a triangle, not a diamond. And then the next one will be another single double. I don't know why I keep doing that. And then we are switching to the gray. This one here will also be a single double. And then the rest of these will be singles, going all the way down. Just like that. And this is what you should have. Now we can go ahead and start looping. So what we need to do first, and you may have seen this somewhere else as well, I'm not sure who else uses this technique, but you're just going to go in, we're going to loop the first set of bands first and stop here. So we don't want to loop anything underneath, we don't need to touch the middle. So right now we're just working with that second layer of bands that we put on the top. So you're going to go in under the capping band, grabbing the first 2 bands, and bring that forward. And we're going to do that until we get to the top of the gray. And then we'll go in and do the other side. I don't think my cap is a triple. That should be right. And remember, you're only grabbing those first 2 bands. Don't grab any of the second set that's on the bottom. Now once we've done that, we need to remove this without actually taking the whole thing off. So we're not going to do anything with these two, this top band here, we're going to leave that. Starting on this band, what you want to do is you're going to grab with your hook the first 2 bands, the ones that you pulled over, and we want to move those to the other side of the peg. And then you don't want to move this capping band, or crossover band, you don't want it to come off the peg. So the easiest way to do this is, instead of pulling from here, I'm going to push this down, and then I want to grab that other side of that band, the one that we looped, and I'm going to pull that over as well. So it makes sure that this crossover band stays down. So I'm going to do the same thing here. We're going to pull this over, and then going on the inside of this, I'm going to pull this one over. Repeat that on the next peg, and repeat that on this peg here. And then we leave the capping band down at the bottom. So we need to do the same thing on the other side. So we're going to leave this part alone, going here, pull the top band over, and then pushing down on the crossover band, grabbing the next 2 parts of that band and bringing that over. Repeat that again. Now let me show you, if you do accidentally pull this band, let's say I pull this, you see how it pulls this crossover band with it? Let's say that you find yourself in that situation, just grab this crossover band, bring it back below the peg. You want to just make sure that the crossover bands stay in the position that they're in. But I just found that it was easiest to, if I push this back and grab the bottom band from here, then I don't have to worry about replacing any of those bands. So once we've done that, we can go ahead and work on the remainder of the body. We're going to go back into our capping band. Remember, the next band is a single band, and bring it onto itself in the center. And make sure when you loop that, you want to just bring it below the capping band that we had in place. And do the same thing on this side. And then we can go ahead and go into all of these bands, grabbing the bottom 2, and then we can go ahead and loop straight up the center. Stopping at the peg before the neck. Going back into our capping band, grabbing the bottom 2 grays now, and I'm going to bring those up. Make sure when you go in through these grays, do not grab or hook this one band that we had sitting here. So you're only going for those bottom 2 green. And repeat that on the left side. Again, same thing, make sure you're not hooking onto the free gray band sitting in there. Just go through, grabbing your bottom 2 green. Then we want to go in underneath all of these bands, grabbing the bottom 3 for the neck and coming forward. Then grabbing the top 2 green, those coming forward. The next 2 will go to the left and then to the right. Then going to loop up on the right side, bringing that up 1. Now here we want to grab, you want to go in here first. We want to grab this next set of green in the middle. We want to do that one first. Then we're going to go in, grabbing our 2 brown, bringing those to the center. Repeat that on this side. Grabbing the 2 brown, bringing them to the center. We can then go ahead and grab our last 2 green in the center, bringing that up, and going in and looping the rest up on the sides. We're then going to take a single green band, going through the top, and create our slip knot. Once we've done that, we can go ahead and remove him from the loom. Now that he is off the loom, his eyes have disappeared. So we're going to go ahead and push those through. Make sure they come through below the eyebrows, his bushy brown eyebrows. And then pull out his arms. And then we just want to pull these out to the side. These are the handles for the trash can. Right there. I'm going to hide my top band. Just like that. Then you want to grab your little Sharpie and then just place the dots on the center of his eyes. And there is Oscar the Grouch. I hope you like him.